You've been lied to about the American Revolution. Not a little, a lot. Brave colonists, evil British king, one midnight ride, and boom, freedom. That's the version. But historians? They've been quietly losing their minds over how wrong that is. We're talking a secret foreign superpower that probably saved the whole revolution, a civil war happening inside the colonies at the same time, and a Declaration of Independence written by a man who owned over 600 enslaved people. This is the story you were never told, and once you hear it, honestly, you can't go back to the 4th of July fireworks version. So let's get into it. Before we dive in, real quick, most people think this was a unanimous, everybody agrees revolution. 13 colonies holding hands. But John Adams, one of the founding fathers, a guy who was literally there, said only about a third of colonists actually wanted independence. I mean, 1/3. That's wild. And it gets crazier from there. We've got propaganda, secret spy networks, a French king who just hated Britain so much he funded an entire foreign revolution, and a midnight ride that apparently involved 3 people, not 1. And Paul Revere wasn't even the guy who finished it. Stay with me. This is going to be worth it. Okay, so the biggest myth. This idea that it was 13 united colonies all rising up together. That's not really how it went. John Adams himself estimated that roughly a third wanted independence, a third were loyalists, loyal to Britain, and the last third just tried to stay out of it. Historians put loyalists at somewhere between 15 and 20% of the white colonial population. That's roughly 300,000 to 400,000 people. And they didn't just stay home and complain. They had militias. They fought back. Which means the American Revolution wasn't just a war against Britain. It was simultaneously a civil war happening inside the colonies. Neighbors against neighbors. Sometimes literally brothers on opposite sides of the battlefield. Now, let's talk about the taxes thing. No taxation without representation. Okay, real. But here's what nobody mentions. Britain had just fought the French and Indian War, the 7 Years' War, partly to protect those colonies. Britain ran up enormous debt protecting the colonies. The Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts, the Tea Act. Those taxes were Britain's way of saying, hey, help pay for the war we literally fought for your benefit. The colonists were furious, but not purely about money. They were furious about having no voice in the decisions. And then there was the Proclamation of 1763, which most textbooks basically gloss over. After the war, King George III declared that no colonists could settle west of the Appalachian Mountains. Land they had just fought and died for, just off limits. Real quick, drop a comment. Did your history class ever mention the Proclamation of 1763 as a cause of the revolution? I'm genuinely curious. Go. Okay, 3-minute mark. Most videos lose you here, not this one, because this is where the story gets really wild. Boston Massacre, March 5th, 1770. British soldiers fire on colonists. 5 people are killed. Terrible, tragic event. But here's what actually happened. The soldiers were surrounded by a mob throwing ice, rocks, and sticks. People were shouting, "Fire! Damn you, fire!" No one is certain the first shot was even intentional. 3 people died at the scene. 2 more died from wounds. Now, Samuel Adams and Paul Revere knew exactly what they had. Revere produced an engraving showing orderly British soldiers calmly firing on peaceful, innocent Boston citizens. Neat lines, no chaos, no rocks, pure propaganda. That image got printed in newspapers and pamphlets everywhere. In today's terms, it went viral. It became the defining image of British tyranny for an entire continent. Samuel Adams and Paul Revere basically invented the political media smear campaign. 250 years before Twitter. And then there's Paul Revere's Midnight Ride. The story, April 18th, 1775. Paul Revere rides alone through the night shouting, "The British are coming!" to warn the patriots. Now here's the part that got left out. Two other riders, William Dawes and Samuel Prescott, rode simultaneously on different routes. All three were stopped by a British patrol. Revere was actually captured. It was Samuel Prescott who completed the ride to Concord. And "the British are coming" almost certainly never said. Half the population still considered themselves British subjects. What he reportedly warned was, "The regulars are coming out." The famous phrase, you know? That came from a Longfellow poem written 85 years later. And this is kind of the theme of the whole revolution, right? The story that got told was carefully, deliberately crafted by people who were very good at controlling a narrative. The real story is messier, more complicated, and honestly, 100 times more interesting. Which brings us to the part that really doesn't make it into the textbooks. Let's talk about France. Specifically, the fact that without France, this revolution almost certainly fails. Not, "it would have been harder." Most historians are pretty direct. The Americans probably lose. Here's the wild part. France set up a fake company, run by a playwright named Beaumarchais, the guy who literally wrote The Barber of Seville, called Roderigue Hortelez and Company, to secretly funnel weapons, money, and supplies to the American rebels. Then, in February 1778, after Americans proved they could actually win something at the Battle of Saratoga, France signed an official military alliance with the United States and entered the war. The whole game changed instantly. The final battle, the Siege of Yorktown, only happened because a French fleet defeated the British Navy at the Battle of the Chesapeake. That blocked British escape routes, cut off their reinforcements. Without that, Cornwallis doesn't surrender. The war may not end. And now, the part nobody wants to talk about. The Declaration of Independence opens. "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." Thomas Jefferson wrote those words. Thomas Jefferson also owned more than 600 enslaved human beings over his lifetime. He wasn't alone. At least 40 of the 56 signers of the Declaration either enslaved people, participated in the slave trade, or profited from it. Jefferson actually did include a passage condemning the slave trade in his original draft, but it was removed by other founders, many of whom were also slaveholders. And here's the last thing that almost never makes it into the story. This wasn't just a colonial rebellion. Britain was fighting a global war on 5 continents: France, Spain, the Netherlands, Native American nations, the Kingdom of Mysore in India, all tangled in this one conflict. Britain was so short on troops, they hired roughly 30,000 German soldiers, mostly from Hesse Cassel, which is why we call them Hessians. That's how desperate and stretched they were. The American Revolution was a remarkable event, genuinely, but the sanitized version erases the third of the population who didn't want it, the French alliance that probably made it possible, a civil war happening simultaneously, and the fact that the men writing "all men are created equal," many of them, were enslavers. The real story is messier, more complicated, and 100 times more interesting. If this changed how you see it even a little, hit like, subscribe if you haven't, and drop a comment. What's the biggest myth you were taught about American history? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.